off the bus at their stop. The homes in this neighborhood looked almost too perfect in their equally measured rows and with their brightly colored paint jobs. Whit wasn't one to typically question artistic choices in home decorations, but the bus ride had spooked him. They walked to a small pink house on the end of the street that had a tiny colorful sign with a couple of balloons hanging from it. "This is the place," Brooks announced as he took Whit up to the front steps. "I've got to make some phone calls, and you can start setting up in the back." Brooks rang the doorbell and smiled at Whit. A lady with bouffant hair and way too much perfume hanging in a cloud around her body swung open the front door. "Heavens to Betsy, you're finally here," she said as she pulled them in. "Virginia, this is my friend Whit. He'll be helping with the party today." Brooks patted Whit on the back so strongly that it pushed Whit towards Virginia as Brooks tried to move away from the woman's grasp. "Okay, but the guests will be here in a jiffy, and you haven't set up anything yet." She smiled through the worried look on her face. "That's all right, we're on top of it. Will you show Whit to the backyard so he can start setting things up?" Brooke asked. "Yes, dear," she smiled, and she helped Whit through the house towards the glass sliding door. "The rental company dropped off the tables and chairs and other supplies back there. You'll find everything you need, I'm sure," she said before rushing off to some other place in the house. Whit stepped outside, found the tables and chairs, and a schematic of how the yard was to be set up. He followed it easily and got all of the furniture into place. He then began to cover the tables with their assigned table decorations. Whit wasn't sure if the various zombie-killing weapons were appropriate decorations. Even though he assumed they were fake, he was pretty sure that rusty crowbars, chainsaws, steel baseball bats, machetes, and axes weren't meant to be at children's parties. He figured, though, that these were all okay by the parents in advance, so he didn't say anything. By the time he finished setting up the blood, body bits, and brains fountain near the food tables, he noticed a peculiar boy watching him. He turned and smiled at the child, who looked like he could have stepped right out of a black and white television show. The kid had black hair slicked back and wore a high-collared button-up shirt with a cape. He smiled at Whit, exposing his fangs. Whit jumped and tried to reach for anything to protect himself against the kid vampire. Whit now knew why this neighborhood looked so perfect, because it was hiding demons. Whit wasn't sure how this kid could be outside in the daylight, but assumed it meant that this vampire child was super evil. The kid laughed and spit out the plastic fangs. "I'm sorry, did I scare you?" he asked. Kinda," Whit shrugged as he struggled to get his heart rate back to normal. "Cool, my name is Billy." "I'm Whit." Whit reached out to shake the kid's hand. "Nice to meet you." "So you work with Brooks?" Billy asked. "Occasionally." "Well, would you say he occasionally gets his party started on time?" "I mean, my mom is in the kitchen trying to seduce him right now, and I don't see anyone else here to make this party amazing, except for you, and I don't think you're going to do that good of a job." "I guess Brooks does have that kind of effect on women," Whit sighed. "Don't think your friend is special. My mom has been going after everyone since my dad left. Anyways, nice fan pack." "Thanks," Whit beamed and looked down at the neon pack. "Looks like something you got out of a dumpster." "Nah, this was a gift from my grandma," Whit smiled. "Huh, back when grandmas were cool?" Billy nodded at Whit like he knew what he was talking about. Whit didn't know, so he asked, "What does that even mean?" Billy shrugged as the red fountain behind Whit caught his eye. "Is that real guts and bone fragments?" "No," Whit turned back to the food table. "It's fake, but it still looks good, right?" "I guess." The kid shrugged and kicked the grass as an awkward silence dropped between the two of them. Whit had pretty much completed setting up, and he wasn't sure what to do next, so he just stood there, waiting for Brooks to appear. Billy surveyed the yard and then turned to Whit and asked, "Do you think Brooks is going to be my new dad?" "What?" "I mean, I only met him once, when we first talked about the party, and he seemed nice," Billy shrugged. "I don't think Brooks has any plans to be dad anytime soon." Whit saw the look of disappointment in the kid's eyes and added a quick, "Sorry." "That's okay," Billy shrugged. "He smells like dirt." "Yeah, kind of like potter's soil, but mustier." "Hey, my two favorite guys, what's up?" Brooks fell out of the sliding door as if he had to pull himself out of the house. "Just finishing here, boss. Anything else you want me to do?" Whit asked. "I've got a couple of guys showing up for the catering and the music, and then we'll just have to see what guests arrive next." Brooks winked at Billy. Look, I know that my mom told you that this party was for me, but it's really for her. I don't mind that I don't have friends. It'll be many years until people see how cool I really am. So don't pretend that this is about trying to make me into a popular kid. Billy crossed his arms and stared at Brooks. Okay, little man, but it is your birthday, Brooks offered. This day hasn't been to celebrate me, at least not since I was really little. It's just used for my mom to trick the neighborhood parents over and try to snag one of the dads, single or not. Ouch. Brooks looked away from the kid to Whit, who just shrugged. He wasn't sure how to respond to that either. Well, hopefully you have a little fun today. Brooks patted the kid on the head and then looked around for a place to wipe the hair grease off his hand. I'll try, Billy shrugged and then walked back into the house. Whit saw Brooks shiver, and then Brooks said, "Looks like my workers are here." He jogged off to the front of the house. Shortly thereafter, Brooks returned with a handful of zombies. Whit assumed they were really well-trained and painted actors, so dedicated to their craft that they had the zombie look down to even the stench. Before long, the guests started showing up. Whit was directed to show them to the tables and get them seated. Some were cute in their minimalistic versions of zombies, but others were just as dedicated as the actors, to such an extent that they stuck to a limited word usage and were pretty handsy if not kept in check. Whit was glad to see so many people show up. Although he knew Billy didn't care for friends, he also knew what it was like to be lonely and bullied. When he returned to the food table, he was surprised to see it covered with lots of treats. Lady fingers, meatballs, cheese balls, chicken wings, and blood orange pie. He was also surprised to see a box labeled brain food, but no one had done anything with that yet. Once it seemed like everyone who was there, Billy made his appearance with his mother by his side. Virginia had taken the time between meeting Whit and the beginning of the party to change into something she thought was more appropriate, but to Whit, she kind of looked like a dead hooker. When she came over to thank him for all his hard work, her breath smelled similar to how his grandpa's would smell before the old man would discuss why the Swedes were the laziest of all the Scandinavians. The party started out well, but the kids weren't interested in the food and really didn't like the zombie-themed music. Okay, how about time for the piñata, Brooks offered. The kids cheered, and Brooks guided them over to a black sheet hanging in a tree. He removed the cloth, and underneath they found a zombie-decorated piñata hanging by its neck. The kids cheered again. The tables here have all sorts of zombie-attacking weapons. Grab your weapon of choice and come take a swing at the zombie. Brooks bowed out of the way as the kids ran up to take a swing. Everyone was enjoying this spectacle. We could understand why, because kids love candy and every piñata has candy in it. But then things went horribly wrong. As children hacked at the piñata, it just started spurting blood, and then a child was hit with part of a hand, and another child got pancreas on his face, and then all the children started screaming and running. "What is this?" one of the parents shouted as they held their crying child. "This is a zombie piñata," Brooks shouted back, his hands clenching in a fist. "I'm sorry, your kid isn't avant-garde enough to understand that." "Brooks!" Whit grabbed his friend's shoulder. "Sorry, man, I just don't like people critiquing my work," Brooks frowned. "This is kind of a disaster." "Yeah, but what can I do?" "Order some pizza and change the music?" Whit suggested. "What?" "Don't be mad. What food did you love as a kid?" "Obviously, like every other awesome kid, it was pizza. And this music, while very cool, isn't kid cool. They don't want to hear funeral dirges. They want something to dance to." "Yeah, okay." Brooks nodded, then got on his phone and made a quick call. When the call ended, he turned to the screaming families. "Listen up. Everyone settle down. My kid has brain fragments stuck in his eye," a parent shouted. "This was all just a wonderful case of special effects," Brooks shouted over the complaints. "We've got pizzas on the way, and we invite you all to sit down and enjoy some good food and some good fun." The majority of the families had stopped yelling and stopped trying to wipe blood off their children's faces and clothes. We realized that actually most of the really committed to their costume families weren't nearly as horrified as the minimally painted ones. Luckily, a delivery guy showed up with several cheese pizzas, and the kids were happy again. He even brought several 2 liters of soda pop for the kids to enjoy, as most of them refused to touch the finger and toe punch. After the food had been distributed, Whit couldn't find Brooks, so he went to the zombie DJ and asked him to play some more popular hits instead of the Halloween soundtracks. The zombie nodded and put on some dance music with lyrics about teenage angst and youthful sexuality. clearly more appropriate for a kid's party, and the kids loved it. After they ate their food, they got up and danced. Whit even saw Billy dancing with probably the cutest painted zombie he'd ever seen. Dude, Brooks popped up behind Whit. Our work here is done, but the party isn't over. Yeah, but it'll play itself out, and my workers will clean up when it's over. But I didn't get a chance to say bye to Billy. Whit looked back at the kid. I'm sure he won't notice. Brooks tried to pull Whit away, but then Billy ran up. You guys leaving? He asked. Yeah, kid. Brooks turned away, clearly still upset by how sour the events had turned. Whit stayed behind and bent down to talk to Billy. I'm glad you're having fun at your party. Yeah, thanks for your help, Whit, Billy smiled. Don't mention it. I just hope it was everything you wished for. I know I said I didn't care to be popular, but this party is going to be talked about for ages. People have already put video of the piñata online, and I'm going to be the coolest kid at school for months, Billy beamed. Good for you, Whit smiled. See you around sometime. Say hello to your grandma for me. Billy laughed hard and then ran back to his dance partner. Whit didn't know that Billy knew his grandmother, but he made a mental note to let her know that the kids said hello next time they chatted. As Brooks wandered down the driveway back to the street, Whit took out his camera and snapped a shot of the party he wished he had had as a child. What about Virginia? Whit asked as he caught up with Brooks. Shouldn't we say bye to her? She's a bit busy at the moment. Whit nodded and followed Brooks. As they passed by the side of the house, Whit swore he saw Virginia making out with one of the super dedicated to his costume zombie dads, who even had an eye hanging loose and was missing some fingers. Whit wondered if that guy was single or not. He shrugged. Either way, Billy might just have a new dad after all. Brooks and Whit walked in silence back to the bus stop, Whit thinking about his own search for love, and Brooks vowing never to do a kid's party again. I don't think they really understood what zombie party meant, Whit offered as the bus pulled up. No, Brooks replied. I don't think most people know what that means, and that's probably for the best.